And welcome back to Theater Talk Boston. Today we're joined with Miles Jacoby, who will be playing Orin the Dentist in Little Shop of Horrors, playing at the Cape Playhouse from June 26th through July 6th. Hi, Miles. How are you doing today?
How's it going, Kobe?
Pretty great. Now, for those two people who are living under a rock and don't know what Little Shop is about, could you tell us?
Oh man, sure. So it's based on a 1960 sort of B horror movie, and it's about a plant from another planet that comes to the Earth and needs to survive on human blood, and so as it gets fed human body parts and people that have been killed, it gets bigger and bigger and tries to take over the world. In the middle of that, there's lovely romance and there's a sadistic dentist and a lot of other fun, kooky characters.
For sure. Do you remember your first experience with this iconic show? Did you see the movie when you were little? Or
oh yeah, so in middle school, I was in 8th grade, and the high school was doing Little Shop, and I really wanted to actually play the dentist. And I remember auditioning, and I didn't get it, and I ended up playing one of the ensemble members. But it's a show that I've wanted to revisit my whole life. So it's been so fun to come back to it. After knowing all the recordings and knowing all the different productions, right. And I think I saw a tour that came through Boston actually back when I was younger. So awesome. It's been on my bucket list. So to get to do it and to get to do it on Cape Cod is sort of a dream come true.
Right, for sure. Now, Your cast is just incredible with Andrew Keenan Bolger as Seymour, Lauren Zaccharin as Audrey, and the incredible Remo Webb, who will be playing Audrey too, and just announced today she'll be in Hercules at the Public later this summer, which is incredibly exciting.
Yes, it is.
How are rehearsals going? How's it been?
It's been going really, really well. The rehearsal process for Cape Playhouse is fast and furious. So right. we have 2 weeks of rehearsal in the city in New York, and then we head to the Cape. So we're in the second week right now. And then we head to the Cape on Sunday, and we do a really quick couple days of tech, and then we head right into production. So the room has been amazing. I mean, Michael runs, Michael's our director and also the artistic director, and Garrett and Shay and everybody is just so wonderful at creating a room that's collaborative and fun and energetic. And everyone's, as you said, the cast is incredible, and really every single person. It's only an 8-person show, right. Surprisingly, because so much happens. So everyone's just knocking it out of the ballpark, and we're having fun doing it, which I think for this show you really have to.
Of course.
And Michael's vision, the show I think can often sometimes fall into sort of kind of camp, and you can kind of send it up.
Right.
But he's really interested in playing it, for its sincerity and its honesty, and you really have this really sweet love story, and these two kind of broken humans kind of finding each other in the middle of this really destitute area and around such horrible circumstances. So to really kind of lock into that and play the sincerity, and then of course the script and the characters are bigger than life and lend themselves to so much humor, but letting that speak for itself and to really just connect to each other and tell the story and communicate, and so it's been going really well.
Awesome. As you mentioned, Michael Rader, who is also the artistic director of the Cape Playhouse, is directing this production. What has it been like going in and working with these iconic characters? Because as you mentioned, there's, of course, the movie and countless productions of it every year. So what was it like starting from scratch and just finding your own characters?
Yeah, I think it's what's day one, Michael was like, he wasn't interested in sort of your stereotypical Little Shop. I think whenever you come across these shows that have been done over and over again, you have to kind of go, okay, why now? What kind of story are we telling that's slightly, not that's different because the story itself is the same, but what are we kind of pulling out? What threads are we kind of pulling on to really sort of make it our own? And I think the sincerity that I sort of spoke about, sort of that deep human connection, I think
right.
is at the center of it. But then also being willing to play and being willing to, okay, it's often done this way. What if we do the opposite, and
right.
to really play with things and have fun. And with Orin, what's so fun is, so I play the dentist, this sadistic dentist.
Yes.
But I also get to, I end up playing a lot of the sort of side characters that come in through the world. So, I think I have something like 7 or 8 different smaller characters, something like that, throughout the show. So they're also so ripe with opportunity to really kind of go, okay, know much about this person and this character. So what do we want to kind of make it? And, is he an actor? Do we give him an accent? Is he older? Is he, like what are the kind of things that we can play with so that they're all unique and fun? And I've had a lot of fun with that. And Michael and everyone's just been game to be like, yeah, play, let's try things. Like, yes, that works. Like, no, go in the opposite direction,
Right.
And just to find our own way into it.
So when audiences come see the show next week, what do you hope they take away from this production?
Yeah, I think first of all, I think, in coming back to the material, I've been just reminded about how good this show is and how well written it is. So I think I want people to walk away, obviously, just being so taken with the story. I think it's such a compelling story, and it's told in such a succinct, tight, really compact way that I think is really thrilling. And then again, I think there's a sort of this lesson of how do you, are there ways of finding connection in this world? Are there ways of what are the sacrifices you have to make in order to find true love? And of course, in this tale, it's sort of there's sort of a Faustian element to it of, he ends up kind of selling his soul to the devil in order to sort of, in order to find that. But it's sort of at what cost are you willing to do in order to get there? And, I think, and hopefully they leave, humming these amazing songs and wanting to come back. So
awesome. I don't think we've mentioned this, but you are a Boston native. What was it like growing up here in Boston and seeing the theater that we have here in Boston and now being able to perform on Cape Cod?
Yeah, it's, Boston's such a great town because it as you said, it's such a great theater town. So I grew up, my parents would always take us to whatever tours were coming through, and and all the amazing theaters, Huntington and all of them. I mean, all of them are so amazing. So I even growing up, I had playbills sort of all along the top of my wall of all the different shows I'd seen, and 90% of them were from right there in Boston. So that's sort of how, luckily I was in a city where that was happening, because that's sort of how I found my way into theater to begin with. So to be able to come back to Boston and perform is always such a wonderful experience. I got to come through with Jersey Boys a few years ago and play downtown Boston, and that was just incredible to have so many friends and family that often don't get to see me perform, and to have them in the audience was amazing. But I've never performed on the Cape, and Cape Playhouse has been one of those theaters that I've always been interested in. I mean, it's sort of iconic and has been around for 80 years and has this amazing reputation, and all these amazing stars got their starts there, and so to be able to be on the Cape and my family has a home in East Orleans, so I've been going to the Cape my whole life, and to be able to perform right down the street, it's always so meaningful, because it's you're able to kind of feel like you're home and still do the thing you love. So that's such a wonderful combination.
And you kind of just touched on this, but I know you went to undergrad at Yale and you're now pursuing your MFA in acting at Juilliard. So did you always know you wanted to be an actor, or was it really this Boston theater scene that convinced you?
I mean, kind of. I mean, when I was younger, I know my sister was doing some dance, and I definitely, as a kid, wanted to sort of do that and thought it looked cool. And there was always these all guy groups that would dance, and I was always interested in that, doing hip hop and stuff like that. But that was back in first grade, and I think just being around theater and having a family that brought me to the theater, I think is so vital. And just in terms of the stories you get to encounter and the conversations you have with your family, but in my case, it really drew me into a world that I otherwise wouldn't have known. So I felt very immediately kind of drawn to performing and wanting to perform. And then because I was in Boston, I also got to perform in all these amazing community theaters. So growing up, Western Drama Workshop, Western Friendly Society, all of them, ACTS. There were all these theaters around, in Cambridge and different areas. So being able to perform at such a young age and meet all these people, I think that was so important to my longevity, and then of course it became a love and a profession, and I started taking it more seriously as I grew older. But so it's sort of always been there. I mean, I feel very lucky that I found the thing very early, and sort of locked onto it. I was like, nope, I know this is what I have to do. And it's sort of just it's brought me to some amazing places, and it continues to be a really interesting journey.
Right. And going off that, you've had some awesome credits, including going on tour with both Book of Mormon and Jersey Boys. I was wondering if you could talk to us just a little bit about the difference of touring with a show versus being in like one place for the whole run.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, tour is sort of its own beast because you are on the road. So you're living out of a suitcase. I was fortunate enough to be on tours that the least amount of time we'd spend in a city would be about a week. And sometimes we'd sit down for almost 3 months. So you really get to see the country in this incredible way. And your cast becomes sort of your traveling family. So, you're eating all your meals, you're sharing hotel rooms, you're all the travel days, all the performances. You really create this bonded unit that I think even supersedes any normal kind of ensemble unit, because obviously theater ensembles become very close, but it sort of takes on this whole other element. And also then the show itself sort of shifts and changes depending on where you are. So for the Book of Mormon, for example, we went to Salt Lake City and we performed, right down the street from the temple that is on the backdrop of the stage, and having an audience that is predominantly Mormon, and that changes it, right? So it changes the theatrical event. So that community was able to get all the nuances and all the jokes and all the little ins and outs because they were seeing a part of themselves being reflected back. I think similarly with Jersey Boys, I remember specifically being in Detroit, being in like a blue collar town that had all these manufacturing jobs, and it sort of soaked into that city, that kind of music and that blue collar story. So they responded to that story in a very unique way. And I think even Boston sort of had an element of that as well. So I think that's what's so exciting about tour. And then of course when Broadway is its own thing, because that's just, the pinnacle, and it's such an amazing experience. Right. But when you're playing to one community, I think it really becomes about, okay, how do we engage with the story each night? How do we find, different moments between each other, and really locking into your scene partners and keeping it fresh, and then also really getting to know and really getting to know the area that you're in. So you feel like you become sort of embedded in that community, in that area, and knowing the Cape and knowing, how awesome those people are. They just sort of embrace you and you become part of their own, and that becomes sort of your home for that show. So right. A lot of similarities, but definitely a lot of differences.
For sure. Looking at your resume, you've played a wide variety of roles, and I love the title of show. So playing Jeff is incredible. Do you have a dream role you want to play, or any dream parts?
Oh man, I mean it's funny because I've done so much, because I was acting at such a young age, and I went to a theater camp called Stage Door Manor for many years. So weirdly, I got to play a lot of roles that were on sort of the list I've gotten to tackle. I mean, Elder Price in Book of Mormon was absolutely a huge one for a long time, and getting to do that was incredible. Ones I loved. Sweeney Todd was definitely
awesome.
On the list, and being able to play the prince and wolf into the woods, and there are a lot of roles that I loved, that I did, and I'd love to come back to, probably when I'm more age appropriate, to be able to play them instead of being in high school. But I think the other thing that really interests me, and partially what drew me back to school, was also really wanting to originate roles, and so to really want to be in the rehearsal room with the creative team, really kind of making those decisions and finding that story and finding those characters, and having the ability to sort of allow my artistic expression to really have an impact on what story was being told. I mean, it's a different thing when you're coming into a show that's been running for 6 years, and they know what this character is, and they know how the script, how audiences respond to the story and the script, and so you're kind of fitting yourself into something that's already working, that's sort of going on, and that takes a certain skill set in terms of, okay, how do I fit myself in? How do I still bring myself to this, but also, the bandwidth of what you can do is sort of a little bit smaller, and I'm also really interested in, okay, it can be anything. What is it? What should it be? What can it be? What's the possibility? And so I think to me that's sort of the next thing I really want to start taking off is originating some roles. So
that's great. One question we ask all of our guests here on Theater Talk Boston. You've clearly done a lot of theater in your life. Do you have any fun on-stage mishap stories where like the set falls down or something terrible goes wrong? Do you have any fun ones?
Sure. I definitely have a few. One favorite was in Jersey Boys. There's a moment where people know Tommy DeVito. It's right when I play Bob Gaudio, and it's right when I write the Sherry. So I come down with the sheet music and I hand it to Tommy, and he kind of throws it on the ground, and he has this moment where he takes his golf club and sort of teases me with it, where I try to reach down and get the paper, and he keeps kind of moving it farther away from me.
Right.
And there was one that I reached down and I heard the rip, and I had ripped my pants from my tailbone down to the back of my knee. And if you also know that show, once we call it the big three. So you basically head into, Sherry, Walk Like a Man, Big Girls Don't Cry, and then I do Oh What a Night. So I was like, okay, this just happened, and I probably have another 25 minutes of stage time, 20 minutes of stage time before I can change it. So luckily I had some darker underwear on, but that was definitely a humorous moment, to be sure, and one that the one that is the first one I think of. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for speaking with us today.
Absolutely.
Everyone should go see Little Shop of Horrors. Again, it's playing June 26th through July 6th at the Cape Playhouse. You can get your tickets at capeplayhouse.com. And exciting this year, they now have $25 student rush all season long. So those tickets go on sale a week prior to a show's opening in the box office in person down at the Cape. And then after Little Shop closes, they still have a whole great season with Once, A Chorus Line, Noises Off, and Death Trap. And if you just can't wait for Little Shop, check out playbill.com because they just did a great feature on the show yesterday with a lot of photos released from the rehearsal room. So Miles, thank you so much for speaking with us, and I can't wait to see the show next week.
Thanks so much, Kobe. Appreciate it.
Have a nice day.